over 5,000 outer space enthusiasts.
How many trips have you made to outer space?
Well, I'd say 350 or a few more.
When was the last one?
Well, first part of June.
And who did you go with?
Well, people from Jupiter.
I have made telepathic contact for the past 8 years with many space people from many areas of space, both inside and outside of the solar system.
Lectures were given from the giant rock, and stalls were set up to sell books, photos, and space-age souvenirs. Most importantly, conventions like this gave the contactees a place to exchange ideas, rumors, and reports.
But I do believe what I see, and I am one of those who was inside a flying saucer.
They told me that language was no barrier to them anywhere. They could speak any language.
So they told you that in English?
Yes.
I seem to become one with the entire universe. Everything in the universe seemed to be contracted down to one small dot.
What were their clothes like?
The woman had a radiant red box-pleated skirt and a black velvet-appearing blouse and a black and red tam or beret, and the men had clothes very similar to our Greyhound bus drivers.
Like Adamski, the contactees gave astonishing details of the spacecraft they had been taken aboard.
On July the 12th, I took a trip in a flying saucer, which I am pointing right here. The saucer was well equipped with rooms, bedrooms, bathrooms, toilets, and this saucer, I went up into Mars, over the Moon, Venus, Clarion, and Orion. When I say Orion, I do not mean Orion. It is a planet outside of our galaxy.
Also present in the new UFO myth was a belief that startling evidence was about to be revealed.
We are going to see more and more of these visitors from space, and that before too long, the evidence will be incontrovertible, that you will have on your TV screens and on your movie screens concrete evidence that the ships are here and that they are real and they're not fantastic things which have been cooked up to make a movie.
Could the UFO mystery ever be explained? The answer is, there would be more questions. They are round, they are cigar-shaped, and they are cylindrical. Some appear to be sleek and smooth, as if made of stainless steel, while others appear bolted together from some alien cast iron. At night, they are described as having flashing lights. They appear without warning, hover erratically, and disappear. Most UFO photographs and films have been identified as natural phenomenon or as hoaxes. Some UFOs appear in photos when we least expect them and defy any explanation or analysis. This is what fuels the UFO myth.
UFO photo cases are tantalizing because they're some type of what you might think of as objective proof. The UFO phenomenon is ephemeral, and normally all we have are reports of witnesses on a piece of paper and a tape recorder. But with photos, you think you have something physical.
But do UFO photos really offer proof of extraterrestrial intelligence in our skies? This series of photos remains among the most compelling examples of what ufologists call a daylight disk. The photographs were taken on July 29, 1952 by George Stock outside of his lawnmower shop in Passaic, New Jersey. Stock reported that as he was working outside at 4:30 p.m., he looked up to see something unusual flying overhead. Using an inexpensive box reflex camera, he snapped pictures of what he described as a disc-shaped object with a metallic bottom. It hovered momentarily, then accelerated and flew away. We may never know if Stock saw a real flying saucer, created a hoax, or was himself fooled by someone else's hoax.
Having looked at photos for 20 years, I would say that probably the bulk of what I have been given are honest mistakes by people.
Dr. Bruce Maccabee is an optical physicist employed by the United States Navy. His official research involves high-energy space lasers, but his interest also lies in the detailed analysis of UFO photographs.
I recently received a photograph from a lady who says she took a photograph of a sunset at night, and to her great surprise, after it's developed, very thin oval-type bright images appear. They're in a straight line. This looks very suspicious to me because this is exactly the thing that would happen if somebody were to take a photograph through a window and have lights in the ceiling which were in a line, and you would get some sort of a reflection.
Still, other UFO photographs represent a deliberate attempt at a hoax. The photographer of these saucers over England admitted to pasting disc-shaped paper cutouts on his window before shooting the picture. Of particular interest to Dr. Maccabee are photos which defy explanation and show no evidence of a hoax or misidentification. One such case began at a farm in rural Oregon in 1950.
These are two photos taken by a farmer and his wife in 1950 in McMinnville, Oregon. Here's the first photo and here's the second, and we'll get a little bit of a blow-up on these.
Using image enhancement equipment, Maccabee brings into focus the startling photographs that were taken in the early evening with a simple camera.
See that it's an oval object with a little thing on the top, like a little protrusion at the top of it. This is obviously a hoax of the real thing. There's no halfway point. You can see the image clearly enough to see that it's not a bird or plane or Superman. So the next question is, what could it be? And if we go back over here, we can see that there are electrical wires right up above the object. Looking again at the blow-up. And now the question is there any evidence of a suspension underneath the wires?
A contrast-enhanced version of the Oregon photo reveals minute scratches that Maccabee must distinguish from a string or line that might have been attached to the object to suspend it for a hoax.
No one has found any evidence of a line going up above the object. There is a possibility that this thing might have been thrown and photographed, except that the image is not blurred by motion.
What the analysis provides, however, is proof only that something was photographed in the sky. There is no evidence here that points to extraterrestrial spacecraft unless that is what you believe. Maccabee also demonstrates how blurring can be used to create the impression of a UFO, where there was only an out-of-focus cookpot suspended by a wire. Other flying saucer images are also in focus, but simply look too good to be true. Such is the case of the astounding photographs taken by a farmer named Billy Meyer.
Billy Meyer is a Swiss man who has taken lots of photographs and lots of movie footage, all of which I think are faked. He's the only one that manages to photograph the ships. He's the only one that sees the stuff or channels the stuff.
Billy Meyer claims to be contacted telepathically by space travelers from the constellation of the Pleiades. He is instructed to set up his camera in time to photograph craft that Meyer calls the beam ships.
And these photographs are taken over a beautiful Swiss valley. They seem to show these objects coming in under conditions of broad daylight. But photo analysis shows, not surprisingly, that these are small objects not very far from the camera, apparently hung from a fishing pole line.
His movies are even more startling because if they are authentic, they would represent clear and distinct proof that flying saucers are real and validate the UFO belief system. Not surprisingly, they have come under the scrutiny of Dr. Maccabee.
One particular section that I was interested in when I saw it, I said, looks to me like a pendulum motion of this object. This is a scene showing a house in the background and a big tree, and the object's swinging back and forth, and then near the end it seems to actually contact this big tree, and everybody's saying, wow, it's on top of a big tall tree, how can this possibly be a hoax?
Maccabee noted that although Meyer's camera